She looked me straight in the eyes across the candlelit table and shouted, "You're overreacting." It was just a harmless flirt. The words echoed in my head, burning like acid. That night, I didn't argue. I didn't shout back. I just watched her as she laughed, posted a "best night ever 2 hearts" story on Instagram, with her ex in the photo, and then turned her phone over like it was no big deal. My chest tightened, but my face stayed calm. That was the moment everything in me went quiet, and deadly certain. For years, I thought love meant tolerance, giving the benefit of the doubt, trusting even when it hurts. But that night flipped the switch. The betrayal wasn't just in her actions, it was in her complete lack of respect, the mockery of our relationship made public for clicks and comments. I realized something vital. You don't need to scream to destroy someone, you just need to walk away right. So, I smiled politely, paid the bill, drove her home without a word, and the next morning, she woke up blocked on everything. No warning. No closure. And what happened next? Well, let's just say karma doesn't always wait years. It sometimes takes just a few weeks and a surprise knock at your door. The night started like any other. Dinner reservations, a quiet booth, soft jazz playing in the background, but it all crumbled when I brought up the flirty messages she'd been sending her ex. I didn't accuse, I simply asked. Her reaction. Nuclear. She slammed her glass down and snapped, "You're overreacting." It was harmless. Grow up. Everyone turned to look, but she didn't care. Her ego needed to win, and I had just challenged it. Inside I was crushed, but outside I stayed calm. I realized in that moment that this wasn't about a message. It was about her not respecting me, our relationship, or the boundaries we had set. She minimized my hurt, turned the blame around, and made a scene to prove she had the upper hand. I noticed how she loved the attention, even negative, and suddenly, I saw a version of her I had refused to believe existed. Self-centered, manipulative, and proudly unapologetic. The dinner ended in silence, not because I had nothing to say, but because I'd said everything I needed to with my eyes. Her smirk as she posted that "best night ever" story was all the confirmation I needed. She thought I'd stay. She thought I'd beg. She had no idea what was coming. Later that night, as I scrolled through Instagram, I saw something that made my stomach turn. There she was, my girlfriend of nearly 2 years, posing cheek to cheek with her ex at some rooftop bar. The caption read, "Best night ever red heart." It wasn't a throwback. It wasn't a joke. It was a fresh post, complete with a flirty boomerang and a cheeky wink in the last slide. All while I was sitting at home, trying to calm down after her outburst at dinner. The betrayal wasn't just romantic, it was public. Everyone we knew could see it. Her friends, my friends, our co-workers. She didn't care about perception. She wanted me to see it. This wasn't harmless. This was intentional. It was her power play, a way to humiliate me into submission. To make me question my worth and beg for her attention. I didn't react publicly. I didn't comment. I didn't message. I just watched as the likes piled in and the heart emojis from her girlfriends flooded the comments. They all knew what she was doing. They were encouraging it. And that night, for the first time, I saw the true face of the woman I thought I loved. That post wasn't just disrespectful. It was war. When I saw that post, I didn't argue. I didn't call her. I didn't send a single message. I went completely dark. Blocked her on everything. Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, even email. Changed my number the next day. It was like I disappeared from her world overnight. And not because I was weak or heartbroken. No, I was done playing her games. I wasn't going to give her the drama she craved. My silence became my loudest message. At first, she didn't react. Maybe she thought I'd cool off and come crawling back. But days turned into a week. Then 2. And the silence started eating away at her. I started hearing from mutual friends. She was concerned, confused, just wanted to talk. But I ignored every single attempt. I wasn't ghosting her out of pettiness. I was reclaiming my peace. She wasn't used to not being chased. She thrived on control, on attention. And I had taken both from her. My life got quieter, cleaner. No more sudden mood swings. No more eggshell conversations. Just peace, and the growing satisfaction that she finally realized I was gone for real. And that realization? It was the beginning of her unraveling. She started showing signs of panic, not immediately, but slowly, like a faucet that wouldn't stop dripping. Friends of hers, people I barely spoke to, began reaching out. She's worried about you. She thinks something happened. Why aren't you answering? I stayed silent. She couldn't grasp it, how someone she used to manipulate so easily could now vanish without leaving a crack to crawl through. That confused her. Deeply. She posted vague stories, black screens with sad songs, captions like, "Some people don't value love," or, "Guess I was too much." Her entire persona began shifting from the carefree flirt to the heartbroken victim. It was almost laughable. She was spinning a narrative, but this time I wasn't in the audience to clap. The more she tried to reach me, the more it broke her illusion of control. She was the one left on read, the one refreshing messages that would never be answered. For the first time, she couldn't fix things with charm or guilt. And that uncertainty, that invisible wall I'd built with silence? It was her new reality, and she had no idea how to handle it. While she spiraled, I thrived. Cutting her off wasn't just emotional. It was transformational. I started hitting the gym again, not for revenge, but for me. I finally took that solo trip I kept putting off, learned to cook actual meals, even started a side hustle I'd been dreaming about for years. Every version of me that had been dulled by her gaslighting started coming back sharper, brighter. Mutual friends, yes, the same ones who once rolled their eyes at her drama, began noticing. "You look different. You seem good." I was. There was something powerful about regaining your time, your space, your identity. I wasn't chasing closure or waiting for an apology. I was moving forward, one confident step at a time. Meanwhile, I could tell from her cryptic stories and desperate likes on my old posts that she noticed too. She saw the glow up. She felt the shift. The man she once dismissed had become the man she couldn't reach, and that's when I realized the best revenge wasn't a dramatic scene or an angry rant. It was showing her that I didn't just move on. I upgraded. She showed up unannounced, flowers in hand. Nervous smile. As if weeks of silence and betrayal could be erased with a bouquet from the nearest gas station. I stood in the doorway, half shocked, half amused, wondering what exactly she expected to happen next. "I've been thinking about us," she said, eyes wide with rehearsed sincerity. "I messed up. But maybe we can start over." I didn't move. I didn't invite her in. Her words floated in the air like smoke, empty, choking, and without meaning. Just weeks ago, I was overreacting. Now I was her what if. It wasn't a reconciliation attempt. It was regret disguised as romance. Her ex, the one she posted "best night ever" with? Apparently he wasn't all that. Surprise. She started crying. Said she missed me. That she realized how much I meant to her after I disappeared. That blocking her was cruel. That I should have at least talked to her. But what she didn't get was this. I wasn't punishing her. I was protecting my peace. Letting her back in would be like rebuilding a bridge only for her to light the match again. So I listened. I nodded. And then I gently closed the door. She stood there, stunned, staring at the door I had just closed on her face. No yelling. No dramatic goodbye. Just the quiet sound of her own mistake echoing back at her. That silence. It was louder than any fight we ever had. And honestly, that was the most satisfying part. Watching her realize that the drama she once thrived on no longer had an audience. I didn't block her again. I didn't need to. That closed door said it all. She texted, of course. Long, winding paragraphs about how I'd changed, how I was being cold, how I was better than this. But she wasn't saying it for me. She was saying it for herself, trying to rewrite the story so she wasn't the villain. Classic. My friends asked if I was tempted to respond. Honestly, not even a little. Because giving her my silence wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. It told her that her chapter in my life was over. And more importantly, it told me that I'd finally stopped being the guy who begged for bare minimum love. She had her moment. She gambled. She lost. And this time, I didn't even play. Word eventually reached me through mutual acquaintances that her best night ever wasn't quite the fairy tale she expected. After I cut all contact, she ran back to her ex like a backup plan, only to find out that he wasn't in it for the romance. Apparently, he ghosted her not long after their night together, revealing he'd only entertained her for ego and possibly some revenge of his own. She tried clinging to him, but he moved on swiftly, publicly flaunting a new girlfriend on his feed, which shattered her illusion of getting him back. Her social circle started to shift too. Some of her friends began whispering about her choices, calling her reckless for torching a good relationship just for a temporary thrill. Her social media turned quieter. The selfies became fewer. The glow she'd weaponized against me was dimming fast. The girl who once bragged about having options was now watching those options dry up. Karma doesn't always arrive loudly, but in her case, it echoed through heartbreak, embarrassment, and abandonment. She tried to rewrite the narrative, but by then, even her friends were done buying it. That's when she realized what she lost wasn't just a relationship, it was someone who truly cared. By this time, I had no interest in revenge. I had already moved beyond the pain. But there was still a part of me that wanted to understand what I was meant to learn from all of it. I dove into my own healing. I started working out regularly, not for looks, but for strength, mental and physical. I picked up old passions I'd abandoned, traveled alone, and even volunteered at a mentorship group for teens. Each step forward rewrote my identity not as someone betrayed, but someone rebuilding better. Meanwhile, she tried to reconnect, through mutuals, old photos tagged from years ago, even creating fake accounts to check in. But I didn't engage. My silence was no longer revenge, it was self-respect. In choosing peace over pettiness, I gained more than satisfaction, I gained direction. That betrayal lit a fire under me I didn't know I needed. I started a side business, turned my pain into purpose, and kept my circle small but loyal. What she saw as the end of a love story, I now saw as the beginning of my redemption arc. I wasn't just healing. I was rising, this time on my own terms. It was a quiet Sunday when I saw her again, by accident. She was at a coffee shop, looking smaller, somehow. Not physically, but in presence. She glanced up and our eyes met, and for a split second, I saw the weight of everything in hers, regret, shame, maybe even longing. She smiled weakly. I nodded politely and walked past. That was it. No drama. No speech. Just peace. That moment, more than any confrontation or revenge, was the closure I didn't know I needed. Because I didn't feel anything. Not anger, not pain. Just stillness. I realized I had built a life that no longer made space for her chaos. She wasn't a villain anymore, just a chapter I'd outgrown. And as I walked out into the sun with my coffee, I felt light. Not because I'd won, but because I'd let go. Life had come full circle. Her betrayal was the fire, but I was the one who rose from it. Stronger, clearer, free.